to 4 to 7 a.m. You can't sleep. Something's keeping you awake. Maybe it's guilt you don't want to name. Maybe it's a question you're afraid to ask yourself. I know that feeling. Because 3 years ago, I started asking myself questions that terrified me. What if everyone else wasn't wrong? What if the problem wasn't them? What if it was me? If you're listening to this right now, and something in you just tensed up, stay with me. This might be the hardest story you'll hear. But it might also be the one you need most. Subscribe if you're ready for uncomfortable truths. Every midnight, we tell the stories nobody else will. And if this story changes something in you, we'll be here tomorrow night with another truth. I used to collect grievances like people collect stamps. Sarah ghosted me. For no reason, Emma stopped inviting me to things. My college roommate moved out without warning. My ex said he needed space. I had a mental catalogue of people who'd wronged me. Each one carefully documented. Each betrayal rehearsed and refined. Poor me always abandoned. Never understood. Constantly betrayed. It wasn't just a story. It was my identity. Being the victim meant I was never at fault. Being the one who got hurt meant I never had to look at how I hurt others. It was safer that way, easier, more comfortable. Until one random Tuesday afternoon when my entire world collapsed. I was at Starbucks. Nothing special, just grabbing coffee. And I saw Jamie. Mutual friend from back when Sarah and I were close. We did the usual small talk. And then naturally the conversation turned to Sarah. I launched into my usual speech. The one I'd perfected over 3 years. Can you believe she just cut me off like that? No explanation. Just blocked me everywhere. I was settling into the familiar rhythm of victimhood. But Jamie was looking at me weird. And then she said something that stopped my heart. You genuinely have no idea, do you? What? She said everyone knew. We all talked about it. You were literally the only person who couldn't see it. See what? She hesitated. Like, she was deciding whether to open this door, and then she did. She said that you were exhausting to be around. The words landed like a slap. She didn't say it cruelly. That was almost worse. She said it matter-of-factly, like a doctor delivering test results, and then she started giving examples. Remember when Sarah's mom was dying? You came over supposedly to support her, and spent 2 hours talking about your Bumble date, who hadn't texted back. While her mom was dying, you were spiraling about a guy you'd met once. I felt my face getting hot. Or her birthday party, Jamie continued. You showed up 2 hours late, already drunk. Cried about your ex for 45 minutes, made her comfort you on her birthday. Then left early because you had brunch plans. Every word was a knife, because I remembered. But in my memory, I'd rewritten it Majid, softer, made her better. Jamie kept going. Remember when she got that promotion? You took her to dinner to celebrate, and spent the entire meal talking about how you deserved a promotion too. She barely got to talk about her own achievement, or when her grandmother died. You went to the funeral, stayed exactly 15 minutes, and left because you had a nail appointment. With each example I felt smaller, because these weren't lies. They were facts. Things I'd actually done. But I'd never seen them this way. Jamie wasn't done. You monopolize every single conversation, she said. Every story someone tells you one-up it. Someone shares pain, you share bigger pain. Someone shares joy, you make it about you. Everything is a competition you have to win, even empathy. And if anyone tries to tell you this, you make yourself the victim of their criticism. So eventually people just stop trying. They stop sharing. They stop inviting, and they just quietly fade away. Because it's easier than confronting you. I sat there with cold coffee and a crumbling sense of self. I wanted to argue, to defend myself, to explain that she was wrong, but something stopped me. Maybe it was the gentleness in Jamie's voice. Or maybe it was exhaustion from defending a lie I'd been telling myself for years. So instead I asked, a question I should have asked long ago. Am I like this with everyone? Jamie's face softened with something like pity. Yeah, she said quietly, pretty much. Most people just drift away without saying anything. Because when they try to talk to you about it, you get defensive. You cry. You make them feel like they're attacking you. So it becomes easier to just disappear. Jamie had to leave. She hugged me before she went. Said, I'm telling you this because I think you can change. But first you have to see it. And then I was alone. Alone with the wreckage of everything I thought I knew about myself. I wasn't the loyal friend everyone abandoned. I was the exhausting person everyone escaped from. I wasn't the victim of Sarah's cruelty. I was the reason she had to protect herself. The next few weeks were the darkest of my life. I started going through every relationship autopsy. Every friendship that had mysteriously ended. And with new brutal eyes, I saw things I'd refused to see. My college roommate who moved out, I told everyone she was flaky. But now I remembered eating her food without asking. Having loud calls when she was studying, borrowing her clothes without permission. And when she tried to set boundaries, I cried. Made her feel like she was being mean, until she just left. My ex, who needed space. I'd painted him as emotionally unavailable. But now I remembered different things. Going through his phone, showing up unannounced. Getting angry when he wanted time with friends. Turning every disagreement into a test of whether he loved me enough. Emma, who stopped inviting me. I'd said she ditched me for new friends, but now I remembered. Getting drunk at her dinner party and embarrassing her. Canceling plans last minute, but getting offended when she did the same. She didn't ditch me, she protected herself. Pattern after pattern emerged. I was the common denominator in every failed relationship. But I'd been so committed to my victim story that I couldn't see it. I thought about all the times people had tried to tell me. Sarah saying, I feel like you don't really listen. Me responding with, I'm the best listener. How can you say that? Making her comfort me about her own observation. My ex saying I need some space to miss you. Me saying if you loved me you wouldn't need space. Turning his boundary into proof. He didn't care. Every single time someone gave me feedback, I weaponized my hurt. Made them the aggressor. Made myself the wounded party. Until they gave up trying, the guilt was suffocating, physical. Sitting on my chest like a weight. Until one night, around to him I did something I'd never done. I stopped defending myself. Even to myself. I got out paper and wrote down every specific thing I'd done, not the softened version, the actual truth. I made Sarah's birthday about my breakup. I prioritized a nail appointment over Emma's grandmother's funeral. I monopolized conversations. I one-upped people's stories. I turned every critique into an attack on me. Page after page of specific concrete actions. This was who I'd been, not who I meant to be. Not who I thought I was, who I actually was, and it was ugly. But it was also the first honest thing I'd looked at in years. The next morning I started writing apologies. Real ones. Not I'm sorry you felt that way. Not I'm sorry, but just I'm sorry. Full stop. I wrote to Sarah first. Took me 3 days, because every instinct screamed to justify, to explain, but I didn't. I just acknowledged what I'd done. Listed specific moments, specific ways I'd failed her. And I said, I'm sorry. I see it now. I understand why you had to leave. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect a response. I just need you to know that I finally see it. I sent it before I could second-guess myself. Sarah never responded, and it hurt, but I understood it. Because that letter wasn't really for her anyway. It was for me. Proof that I could look at myself honestly. That I could take responsibility without excuses. I wrote to others too. Some responded with thanks. Some didn't respond at all. One wrote back, "You're 3 years too late," and she was right, but I sent them anyway. Not to get forgiveness, not to feel better. Just to acknowledge the truth out loud. And something strange started happening. The more honest I got, the lighter I felt. Not happier exactly, but less trapped. Because I'd been imprisoned by my own lies. And truth, even painful truth, was freedom. I started paying attention to myself in real time. In conversations, in friendships, in every interaction. And it was horrifying how often I still did the same things. A friend would start talking and I'd feel that itch. That need to jump in with my story, my bigger story. But now I could see it, and seeing it meant I could stop, could wait, could actually listen. It felt unnatural. Like holding my breath, because my default setting was me. And fighting that took constant conscious effort. Still does. A few months ago, a friend called crying. Her dad had been diagnosed with cancer, and my old instinct kicked in immediately. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. You know my aunt had cancer and... But I stopped, mid-sentence. Caught myself doing exactly what I'd always done. So I took a breath and said, I'm so sorry. That must be terrifying. Tell me what's happening. And then I shut up. For 45 minutes I just listened. Asked questions. Sat with her fear. Didn't try to fix it. Didn't compare it to my stuff. Just held space for her pain. When we hung up, she said, thank you. I really needed someone to just listen. And I realized that's what I'd never given Sarah. Or anyone. Presence without performance. Support without making it about myself. It's been 3 years since that Starbucks conversation. 3 years of conscious effort. Of catching myself, of choosing different. I still mess up. A lot. Last week, I interrupted someone, caught myself and apologized. Yesterday, I felt that itch to one-up someone's good news. Recognized it, and stayed quiet instead. This morning I got defensive when someone gave me feedback. Then took a breath and said, you're right. Thank you. It's not natural yet. Maybe it never will be, but I'm trying. And my relationships have changed. They're deeper now, more real, more reciprocal. Because people can feel when you're actually present, when you're actually listening. I have new friends now. Friends who've never known the old version of me. And when I mess up, which I do, I own it immediately. I'm sorry. I did it again. I made that about me when it wasn't. No excuses, just acknowledgement, and people respond to that. To honesty, to effort. If you're listening to this and feeling defensive, pay attention to that. Because defensiveness was my tell. Ask yourself some hard questions. Are you the victim in every story you tell? Do people consistently disappoint you? Do relationships end mysteriously? If yes, it might not be them, it might be you. And that's terrifying to consider. Because if you're the problem, that means you've been wrong. About yourself, about everything. But it also means something hopeful. If you're the problem, you can change. You can't change other people, can't make them understand you better. But yourself, you have complete control over that. It's hard. Brutally hard, but possible. I'm not the villain anymore. But I'm not the hero either. I'm just someone who finally took off the blindfold. Who learned to see herself the way others saw her all along. And that clarity, even though it hurt, saved me. From a life of shallow relationships. From constant confusion about why people leave. From the loneliness of being surrounded by people who don't really know you. The truth set me free. But first it destroyed me. And maybe that's how it has to work. Maybe you have to break completely before you can rebuild as something real. If this story touched something in you, subscribe. Every midnight, we tell truths nobody wants to admit. Stories about who we really are when we're not performing. Because we all carry something. And maybe the first step to changing is admitting what we've been. Thank you for listening. See you next midnight. When you're ready to stop running from yourself.